Hello everyone, Charles Watts here, the Arsenal correspondent at Goal, joining you on match day. You might have forgotten there is actually a match tonight. So much talk this week, all dominated by the Super League and the fallout from it and the Kroenkes. But there is a match tonight and I will talk about that at the end of this video. But first of all, I've got to talk some more about the Kroenkes and not so much the Super League. We've covered most of that, but Josh Kroenke was speaking last night at the Arsenal Fans Forum. I'm sure you've probably seen some of it or heard some of it right now. So I just wanted to talk about some of the things that he had to say, go over what some of the answers he had to fans, what Vinai said today. Both very much grovelling really during that fans forum. They took a bit of a beating from the Arsenal fans involved in that with their questions that they asked. Were left in under no illusions what they thought, what the Arsenal fans thought of them, and that their proposal to take Arsenal into the European Super League. So I'll go through some of what they had to say on that, but before ending up on the Everton game, predicted 11, that sort of thing. So we'll start with what Vinai said. I mean, most of the fans forum was centered around Josh Kroenke. That's what most of the fans wanted to ask questions. He was the one doing most of the answering, but Vinai sort of kicked it off and chipped in with a couple of things. And I just wanted to talk about what Vinai said first of all. This is kind of his explanation as how Arsenal managed to get to the point of signing up to the Super League and the embarrassment that caused. He said, "Our approach that we have always said publicly and privately is always to listen and to make sure we protect the best interests of Arsenal. In this situation, what was clear is that the train was leaving the station. This project was about to be launched with some of the biggest clubs in Europe, and we needed to assess if this launch happened without us and this tournament came to fruition without us, what would that mean for the club? Due to concerns of that becoming a reality and us being left behind, we made the decision to join. I'm not trying to justify it absolutely 100%, and I'm not trying to say that it's okay, but I'm trying to explain it became immediately apparent that we had made a bad and terrible decision. When you make a bad decision, you don't want to follow it up with another one, so we immediately got out as quickly as we possibly could. Now we need to say sorry to lots of people." So a little bit of an explanation there from Vinai as to why Arsenal were involved. He went on, added a couple more things, said that absolutely Arsenal were not the driving force of this. It kind of has been suggested. He said, as I reported earlier in the week, that Stan Kroenke was never a vice chairman, as had been reported at some stage, and he felt that was why maybe some people felt that Arsenal were one of the driving forces of this project, but he very much says that they weren't, that it was other clubs that were driving it, and Arsenal made the decision pretty late to get on because they didn't want to be left behind. Whatever you think of that, that is what he has said. That's his explanation. And then everything turned to Josh, and he sort of took control of the meeting really, and he was the one that most of the fans were firing the questions at. He had to take a lot of grief. Did Josh Kroenke, and understandably so. He said, "As this project took shape in a very fast manner, we asked ourselves two key questions. The first, we asked ourselves, what is worse, a Super League or a Super League without Arsenal? That was a very tough one for us to weigh, but basically the decision was made that a Super League without Arsenal was the worst of those answers. That's why we acted upon." Now, first of all, the first question we asked ourselves, what is worst, a Super League or a Super League without Arsenal? Don't ask yourselves that. Ask the fans that. Ask everyone who is involved with Arsenal that. Don't just ask yourselves. Really winds me up. Anyway, let's get on to the second part. He said the second question was, what do the fans want? We tried to answer that question in as many ways as possible. We were obviously bound by certain confidential aspects of the decision we were thinking about making. It was a much more complicated answer than we had time to contemplate. I think the global fan base wants to see Arsenal versus Barcelona regularly as much as possible. I think the European fan wants to see more big matches between the top clubs because their domestic league is so predictable. And I think from an English fan's perspective, they want to see more big matches. But as one Chelsea supporter wrote on a sign I saw the other day, you still want your cold night in Stoke. To me, that sent a strong message that the EPL, football in the UK as a whole, and the fan sentiment in England, we got it wrong. And that's why we're here today apologising and to discuss with you. Again, it starts off, the second question we asked ourselves is, what do fans want? Ask the fans. Don't ask yourselves what the fans want. Why don't you ask the fans what they want? And don't hide behind this confidentiality rubbish. Ask the fans. You're taking this monumental decision. Ask the fans. You are the custodians of the club. It's not your club, it's the fans' club. ask them. Really annoyed me again in that one. And I also don't think that the global fan really wants to see Arsenal versus Barcelona. I'm saying that as an English football fan. Obviously, I'm here. I don't know. I can't speak for everyone around the world. But I wouldn't have thought that that global fan wants to see Arsenal Barcelona every week. Who wants that? How bored have we got recently of seeing Arsenal Olympiacos all the time? And I know it's a different level. It's not Arsenal Barcelona. But it's the same sort of thing. You think about it. How many times in the Champions League have teams drawn each other? Just when Arsenal draw Bayern Munich all the time. Arsenal did used to draw Barcelona all the time. And you're only talking about playing them twice a season. And it used to get a little bit samey. So you don't want to see them play every week. I can't imagine any football fan, no matter where you are in the world, if you're in England or you're not in England, you want to see playing the same teams every week. It just that explanation doesn't make sense to me at all. But again, that's what he's had to say. So those were the reasons that Vinai and Josh gave about why Arsenal signed up to this Super League in the first place. Some of the other sort of main headlines that came from it, the main responses, just wanted to go over that. Josh was asked, can you give assurances that this will never happen again? And his answer to that was, as that proposal was constructed, yes. So he's absolutely not saying that Arsenal won't sign up to a Super League idea again. He's saying that as this one was constructed, then yes. What that means, we'll have to wait and see. Is he talking about as constructed as being other clubs aren't involved, or there's no relegation, that sort of thing? Who knows? But he's absolutely there, not saying that Arsenal won't sign up to a Super League again. He's just saying that it won't sign up to the one as it was constructed again. One of the key points he did say actually was when he was asked, are Arsenal going to be covering the bill for this farce, or are you going to, as in KSE, Kroenke Sports and Entertainment? And he did say that KSE would be covering all the costs, and that's for the legal documents, everything, signing up to the Super League, withdrawing from the Super League and the contracts that were signed. Some people said that's reported to be about £8 million. Vinai Venkateshan did say that that's not the case. He said the figure's far lower than what's been reported. But Josh, when he was asked that, who's going to be covering the costs, he said KSE is covering all costs related to the Super League. The club is not incurring anything, which is good news, because it would have been an absolute, it would have just been a disgrace if Arsenal had to cover any of that. He did also say that it was a board decision, which I just don't believe him. I'm going to say it there. I don't believe him. He said it was a board decision. We all got together as a board and decided it. That's why we made the choice. I just don't believe him. I think it is Stan Kroenke's the sole owner. Yes, Josh is director, and the two of them will work together. But I'm not going to sit here and think that this was a board decision. Arsenal have got a board in name only. It's an honorary board, basically. Stan Kroenke runs the club. He's the sole owner of the club. He makes the decisions. What he says goes. And he didn't even bother to turn up last night. He left it to Josh to face music. Josh said that he speaks for his father, and when you hear from him, you're hearing from his father. Again, it's just such a cop-out. Just speak. How old are you? You're a 73-year-old man. You're a billionaire. You're a businessman, a very successful businessman. You can front up and you can talk to your supporters. Don't hide behind, in the statement that you released on Tuesday, a little sign-off saying the Arsenal board, and then don't hide behind your son and send your son to do the dirty work and to face the music. Stand up, be a man, and listen to the fans and answer them. It's just pathetic. He's such a coward, Stan Kroenke. Such a coward. Anyway, I'm not going to get into too much of a rant again, because I did enough of that earlier on in the week. And then the big ones, he was asked, do you still feel that you and your father are fit and proper custodians or owners of Arsenal Football Club, given what has gone on? And he said, I still believe we're fit to carry on in our positions as custodians of Arsenal. We were put in a very difficult position by forces outside the club. To go back to those original questions that we got earlier on, we got them wrong, but those questions we asked ourselves, and that's why I'm here to try and piece everything back together over time. I'm not asking for your trust immediately. We have the same plans for summer as we had a few weeks ago, and I'm so excited about those. Classic little soundbite there added in by Josh Kroenke, telling fans to be excited about the summer. We heard that before, just slipping that one in. So obviously saying that what happened now has not affected the club's transfer plans and what they're working towards with Mikel Arteta for the summer. They're the same now as they were before this whole fiasco, and that he is excited about those. So again, only time will tell if he backs up those words and he delivers a summer that is exciting for Arsenal fans, or that he is excited about. We'll have to wait and see. He was then asked, what's the end game? When are you selling? Are you making plans to sell? And he said, I'm not willing to answer that question because we have no intention of selling. Obviously, it's a protest tonight I will drop a little piece in I've done today that's on Goal on there. I'll pin it as a top comment, looking at the protest, how it's come to this, what Arsenal fans want now. I've spoken to a couple of people, a couple of fans group, Raymond from Red Action, Tim Payton from the Arsenal Supporters Trust got their views for it, so please do give that a little read, explaining the situation behind the protests that we're going to see tonight. I think they're going to be very, very big. I'll be surprised if it's small numbers outside the Emirates tonight. I think it's going to be pretty rammed out there. Like I said, I'll try and get there as quickly as I possibly can. I can't leave my house until gone 6 o'clock because I've got to wait for my wife to finish work before driving up there, and it takes me an hour and a bit on a good day to get up there, let alone on a Friday evening across the North Circular. So I'm going to try and get there as quickly as I possibly can to cover it, but if I can't, if I arrive a bit late, then I'll certainly share any of the videos that I see or pictures that I see once I'm not driving. Hopefully I'll still get there because I think it's going to go on. The game kicks off at 8 o'clock and I don't think the protests are going to die down just because of the game. And yeah, I think Josh yesterday found it pretty difficult in that fans forum, and if he's kind of hoping that was it, then he's probably in for a little bit of a rude awakening tonight. Yes, they're in the States, they can just turn it off if they want to, but I think the noises that Arsenal fans are going to start to make tonight are going to grow louder and louder, and it's going to become harder and harder for him and possibly the media in America, which might make a big impact, might find it harder to ignore. I think Arsenal fans are certainly going to be heard tonight. Okay, let's move away from Josh Kroenke, Stan Kroenke, all of that. Let's actually talk about some football, shall we? Because there is a game tonight. It may not feel that important because of everything that's gone on and what's going to be happening outside the stadium. But there is a game, and it is still relatively important. If Arsenal win and beat Everton, then it gives them a little bit of boost over the last few games of the season. Could they still lay claim to a European spot? Maybe, certainly not top four, you think that's gone, but maybe still a chance of a Europa League place. But they're certainly going to have to win tonight. But they're going to find it difficult against an Everton team still battling for the top four, and they're missing some big players. Arsenal, no Lacazette, no Aubameyang. Both of the main strikers are out. So what's Mikel going to do with that? Odegaard is back in training. He might feature. David Luiz is back in training. I still think it's probably going to be a little bit too early for David Luiz, given he's just come back from an operation, to throw him straight back in. But it's good to see him back in training, and it certainly raises the possibility of him being involved against Villarreal next week. Obviously, no Tierney as well. So a couple of good bits of news, positive bits of news with the transfer, with the injuries, but some worrying ones as well. And I think certainly the interesting thing is going to be who plays up front for Arsenal tonight. Do you go with Gabriel Martinelli or do you go with Eddie Nketiah? Obviously, Nketiah came on and scored at the weekend, scored the equaliser. Is the natural striker, and we don't really know yet if Mikel sees Gabby as a natural front man or not. I think my hunch is that he's going to go with Eddie. I would personally like to see Gabriel Martinelli play as a central striker tonight, playing a sort of quite an exciting front four of Martinelli as the striker, Pepe on the left, Saka on the right, and then either Smith Rowe or Odegaard as the number 10. That's the one I would like to see, but I've just got a feeling that we'll probably see Eddie, who Mikel certainly sees as he is an out-and-out striker, will get the nod for this one tonight. There's obviously the opportunity for Folarin Balogun to be involved. He's involved with first team training yesterday, so I imagine he will be in the squad tonight. I'll be surprised if he isn't. But you can't really imagine that Mikel's going to suddenly throw him straight in, and even though he's now agreed this new contract, he's going to throw him straight in as the starter, as a central striker on his own against a team like Everton. It would be a big ask. So I think that's the big decision for Mikel. Obviously, he's got to weigh up the Villarreal game next Thursday, but you've got a lot of time to rest. So I think he's going to go strong. I'll be surprised if we see too much rotation from him tonight. I imagine he's going to go as full strength as he possibly can for this one. He'll want to get a result. He'll want to try and get people talking about football rather than what's happening behind football. He had his say in his press conference. Obviously, you'd have all seen that yesterday. I did my live reaction from it, and he said some interesting things about that. And he knows that Arsenal have got a big job on their hands now to rebuild the trust with their fans, to get the fans back on side. And the best way for them to do that, certainly the team, is to start winning. Yes, Stan Kroenke is going to come in for a lot of grief tonight. Yes, Josh Kroenke is, but you kind of want them to be a little bit separate from the team and not to have too much of a negative impact on the team. And hopefully they can kind of shut that out tonight and go out there and get 3 points and certainly give the fans something to smile about after what has been a very, very difficult week. Okay, before I go today, let's quickly go through my predicted 11 round. Now, remember, this isn't what I want to see happen tonight. This isn't the 11 that I would go for. This is the 11 that I'm predicting that Mikel Arteta will go for. So just bear that in mind for this one. So I think we're going to see Leno come back in goal. Obviously, we had Matt Ryan playing against Fulham last time, but I imagine Leno's going to come in. I'm going to say the back four is going to be Chambers at right back, Rob Holding and Pablo Mari as the centre-backs, and Granit Xhaka continuing as the left-back. I think we'll see a midfield of Thomas Partey and Dani Ceballos for this one. And then the front four, this is the one that I think a lot of people are going to hope to see Martinelli, but I think he'll be Nketiah. So I'm going to go with front four of Saka on the right, Smith Rowe at number 10, Pepe on the left, and Eddie Nketiah as the central striker. Now remember, that is me predicting what Mikel is going to do, not the starting 11 I would like to see. I think if I was in charge and I had the choice, I'd give Martinelli a go as a central striker and have Pepe, Smith Rowe and Saka playing behind them. Everton have been boosted by return of a lot of key players tonight. Dominic Calvert-Lewin's back. He's missed the last few games. So you imagine he's going to be leading the line. He's scored against Arsenal last season at the Emirates. We all know how dangerous he can be in the air, so you want to see Pablo Mari and Rob Holding coping with him relatively well. They've got a few other players back as well for Everton, so it's looking pretty good for Carlo Ancelotti's side tonight. They'll fancy their chances on this one. They'll know that Arsenal's heads will be a little bit all over the place, and they'll come in looking to get the 3 points that they need to keep up their top four ambitions. So big match for Arsenal, big challenge for Arsenal, but I've got a sneaky feeling that the big story isn't going to be what happens on the pitch tonight, it's going to be what happens off it. And until then, everyone, have a very good day, enjoy the sunshine, and join me later from the Emirates. Keep checking my Twitter throughout the evening, throughout the day, throughout the night for all the updates for what happens in North London this evening. Have a good day, everyone. I'll speak to you soon.